Okay, good evening and welcome to the Irie Myrie and Friends show. Um, I am Colin Myrie and my co-host today is Ralston Chamberlain. The elections in the United States is just a mere 6 days away, and all is at stakes. According to many pundits and pollsters, this election is too close to call. Will Donald Trump emerge the winner and implement what the Democrats dubbed his Project 2025? Or will Kamala Harris ignite a fire of hope and change? How will victory for either side affect the Jamaican population living in the United States? Ralston?
All right, from all indication, lots of Jamaicans are excited about the prospect of a black female president. And so this afternoon or this evening, we're joined by eminent persons who are informative men to give us their perspective and their insight. We have online with us Erwin Clare. He's the co-founder of the managing director of the New York-based Caribbean Immigrant Services, which mobilizes and empowers the Caribbean diaspora. He's a member of the Jamaican Diaspora Advisory Board for the USA Northeast, and he's integral in advising the Minister of Foreign Affairs on diaspora issues. Erwin Clare has been conferred with the Order of Distinction for his contribution to Jamaicans in the diaspora. He's also the co-founder of Team Jamaica Bickle that assists athletes from Jamaica at the Penn Relays. Erwin can be heard on Fact of the Matter, which airs on Sundays on 93.5 FM. We're also joined online by Ambassador Curtis Ward, former ambassador of Jamaica to the United Nations with special responsibility for Security Council affairs, attorney at law and international consultant. He's an analyst on geopolitical and international security issues. His area of focus includes anti-corruption, democracy, rule of law, and human rights. He's also an adjunct professor at the University of the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. And you can find his publication on www.thewardpost.com. We're also joined today by Dr. Rupert Francis, and Dr. Francis is a retired JDF captain, distinguished professor at the Art Institute Inland Empire Education Department, where he lectures in speech and psychology. Dr. Francis has served his country well with distinction as a member of the Jamaican Defense Force, where he retired at a level of captain. He's also a member of Mutual Life Insurance Company, sales and marketing team. Dr. Francis sits on many boards where his knowledge and expertise is often sought. So, gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the discussion.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to jump right into the discussion and get to the point. And I'm going to start with Ambassador Ward. Tell our listeners, give us an idea of what you're hearing so far based on your knowledge of persons in that having worked in the diaspora, who has a better chance of winning this election and why? I know many have said it's close to call, but based on what you're hearing, you're feeling.
Well, I don't know if I'm overly optimistic, but I feel pretty confident that Kamala Harris will win. The enthusiasm that I've seen for her campaign, the crossover from the many Republicans that are taking place, including many of whom are campaigning for her and with her. I also see that there is a limit to the percentage of votes that Donald Trump will get, and it is capped at 47%. Without any meaningful third-party candidate in the race, I see Kamala getting over 50% of the vote. And the big issue will, of course, be turnout. And from all indications, Kamala Harris has a super ground game. And women in the early voting are outvoting men who who normally give Donald Trump the edge. But the women certainly are far outvoting the men in the early voting. And if that trend continues, yes, in some states, the final count will be close, but I think Kamala will win most of the swing states. And certainly in doing that, she will have more than the required electoral votes to win the presidency.
All right. Erwin, Claire, you are on the ground. I would say you're mostly on the ground. What are you hearing? What are your feelings in regards to who you think will come out victorious?
First of all, I'm saying good evening and just make a few comments here to just indicate that I'm no longer advisory board member. I do not advise the Minister of Foreign Affairs. That's a dubious position and to have at this particular time. And some changes in my background, no longer on radio for the time being. It's ironic that based on what Ambassador Ward just said just now, and I agree with his comments, about the women being at the forefront and leading in the charge, which is also women from the Caribbean are always the first to come into this country and set the family right. That we're on this platform and we are 5 men. So I don't know what that means. But anyway, you know, there is a general sense. I am one of those who I'm nervous as hell. In fact, I don't even watch the newscasts anymore. But deep down somewhere, I feel that Ms. Harris will have this thing locked. But my fear factor, and I share this, and it has kind of been supercharged, the fear factor, since Sunday, even more so. When right here in Blue City, Sanctuary City, we could see a remake of the 1939 Casualty on Humankind, when those white supremacists met in the same venue there, Madison Square. It was the same echoings from what I would have read were done last Sunday in Madison Square here in New York. And I say that it has really, I won't say, make me dig deep and be overtly conscious of my environment, because these people are from around here, and to hear that kind of venom in a city, in a sanctuary city, in a city that is made up of immigrants. Because if we were to stay home or go to church 2 days next week, there's an economic calamity in the state. Mm-hmm. And yet to have that kind of stuff articulated from the greatest stage, one could say, in the United States, Madison Square, is a frightening experience. And it just reminds us that we can't take anything for granted. And that's why it's important that the ground game that Ms. Harris has, that people go out and vote. It's not something that we just relax and say, my vote don't count. So yes, there's enthusiasm, but enthusiasm driven with more fear than anything else.
Yeah, and let me just, if I could interrogate that fear a little bit, Erwin, is it that then this fear that you are feeling could be the same fear that many others are feeling, and then feeling that fear that would drive a greater voter turnout?
And that's the hope. You see, and that is the hope, because you see, we have kind of fallen into a rut, and take a lot of things for granted. And especially when I hear some of Ambassador Ward and Captain Francis, some of our friends, talking as if they did not come through a very system that this man now say he's gonna lock off. And we must understand the implication is not just about us right here. It goes right into my district, Bamboo St. Anne and Brownstown St. Anne and Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth. It goes right down there. So we can't be passé about this thing. Because if somebody tells you something, gentlemen, over and over again, you're not going to believe the person. That's what I'm talking about. So yes, the positive from the fair is that we'll get up off our posteriors and go to an exercise of franchise.
Dr. Francis, let me bring you in at this point. Give us your feeling, your take.
Well, the fair is good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting me on. My colleagues have just heard. I mean, I say yes, there is fear, and there was fear, and I've been telling people that this country, it's deeply divided, and I was so much afraid. I didn't have not been on the radio for quite some time. I've just been listening to hear what is going on, and it is frightening actually to hear the dialogue out there as Irwin just and Ambassador just talked about what's important and what is at stake. So I've just been looking, and I'm telling you, and in fact, this is the first time I'm discussing any of this because people get offended, and so I'm looking for the day when, and I always wanted the day when we try to make it understand that it's the country that's at stake. It's not about us individuals, it's the country. And so from that perspective, I've been watching the race, of course, and I'm telling you something, I don't know, boy. This is like any other race I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this. And you don't know what to think. And when I'm happy that Irwin can see further than yesterday, because honestly, when I look at it, and I look at the poll, I cannot believe the polling either. I cannot believe what is being said, because I mean, you don't know who's going to say what, when, on who. And honestly, I said to somebody, I was invited to Ethiopia. Maybe it's time I go to Ethiopia. Right? Because, and yes, and from family members says, you alone going in. I said, well, all right, don't worry. The point I'm trying to make, though, is that I'm not making light of this thing. It's a very serious thing. Changes are needed. Changes are needed, and changes must be happened. And I believe, though, that in the end, right, changes will be made. I think so. I really, honestly, I see the energy out there. And I notice I haven't called any names. I'm not calling any names because, it's quite a thing to do so nowadays, to point fingers and say that person, that person, that person, so on. But I just believe that, I believe in a higher power, because I went through a process just recently that made me realize my own frailties. But I do believe that we'll come through this more positive than it is right now. And if that is not answering the question, I don't know what to say. But only to say that I hope that people understand what's at stake. They go out there, they vote, and they make their voices heard. Okay? And I wish everyone in a good day. Let's put it that way. I wish us more than anybody else, though. Us, the people. Because in the end, you're gonna have somebody winning, all right? And we want to know at the end of it, we are safe and we can do what we're going to do. I see some people in the area that I'm in Florida, right? And it is hot, okay? And you have to be looking over your shoulder and all that sort of thing, what you're doing in Florida, okay? And that is really sad, okay? But I see you safe in my zone because I stay in my zone. Okay, but that should not be it. Anyway, that's my spin. And if you need to...
Before I hand over to Colin to ask his question, I want to come back to Ambassador Ward, because we hear oftentimes Ambassador Ward in previous election, this is the moment, this is the time, this is where we're at a point now. And we hear it again being echoed. This is the moment, this is a reflection point for the Americans. Is this really the moment that if we miss out on making the right selection, we really have missed out?
Is that for me?
Yes, Ambassador.
This is the moment that we determine our future. Our future as immigrants in this country is at stake. Just consider this. When Donald Trump and J.D. Vance talk about immigrants. And although they may have singled out particular countries, they mean all of us immigrants of color. I cannot sit on the sideline. I cannot just sit back. I do everything I possibly can to encourage people to vote, to protect our interests. You know, I belong to an organization called the Caribbean Political Action Committee. And we put out a very strong press release to condemn the disparaging of Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, and the Haitian population at large. Now sitting as chairman of the Governor's Commission on Caribbean Affairs in Maryland, we are currently discussing a statement condemning the egregious description of Puerto Ricans. I cannot sit on the sideline because my future and my children's future depends on what we do today. And I've already voted. And I'm now encouraging everyone who understands what is at stake to go out and vote. I don't know how many of your listeners are really familiar with Project 2025. It's a 922-page document which most people will never read. And what they hear are what special interests here are most interested in. We are in for some serious time. We're immigrants of color. And I want to emphasize that immigrants of color, regardless of where you're from, will be discriminated against. Okay? We already have heard all the things that will be done. You know, there are many people in our Caribbean community, Jamaican and Caribbean community, who may or may not be married to or partner with someone who does not have legal status in the United States. They may also have children who are US citizens. When the dragnet under a Donald Trump presidency begins, where they're going to be trying to go in and I've heard Trump's surrogate say, sure, legal immigrants will get caught up in the dragnet and legal immigrants will be deported with their spouses because there will be no due process. They'll be thrown into mass concentration camps by the millions and deported by the millions. There's no time to go to court. If you're caught up and you can't prove your right to be in the United States, whether it be on a factory floor, in hospitality, or just on the street. And I'm not being an alarmist. This is what Project 2025 has provided a blueprint for the Trump administration to deal with immigrants. We cannot afford to sit on the sideline. You're what, 5 days left? Call everybody we know. I put out what I can using my social media and so on. And I cannot be afraid now. If I'm afraid now, then may as well I grab my bags and leave the country. Because being afraid means you're not doing anything to protect your future.
Well, you know, I just want to say to Ambassador Ward, let me say this to you. I went through a process the other day that I was directly targeted and told I was going to be killed, my neck was going to be cut off by people, you know, in my vicinity and what have you. So the fear, there are many things out there that's causing fear. and people's what's that, perception. I think it's very important that we get the votes out, get the people out to vote as they should vote, and support whichever candidate you want to. And at the same time, because I'm telling you something, I am not afraid, based on my background and all, I'm not afraid of anybody or anything, only the Jode himself. And I'm saying to you, we must encourage all of our people to get together, stand together, and back each other.
Captain
Okay,
Francis,
that's what I think
your
we should do.
your message is wrong.
Why do you say that?
Because you're telling them to vote for whoever they wish to. You're giving them an option to vote for Donald Trump. Let me tell you something.
I don't understand you.
Anyone,
I didn't say that, Dr. Ambassador.
anybody that votes for Donald Trump is
Yes.
voting against me. I am not garbage. I'm not immigrant garbage. I'm not the enemy within. I don't poison American blood. So if you vote for Donald Trump, you're voting against me as an immigrant. So when I say vote, I will never, ever give anyone the indication that they have an option to vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris.
Listen, I understand you, Ambassador, and I support what you're saying. You have given your commitment, and I know you're the type of person, once you give me your word, you will not take it back, and you're rightfully so. But I'm just saying we cannot subscribe to the fear mongering either. We stay, in other words, let's if something happens and we don't stick together, then some of us are going to be knocked off, and so, you know what I mean? Who do you choose? All I'm saying to you is this, that we must stand up on our feet and fight. It's the same fight we're having in Jamaica. Right now, we're having some serious problems in Jamaica. And some people will not help. Some people don't want to help. They think that it's a one more and it is done. Right? And some people came out and they were mocked. Right? And what have you? And hold on, in my case, I was told that I killed people at Green Bay. Right? For example. And I'm just saying to you, which is foolishness. Everybody knows foolishness. So I'm just saying, we must stick together, work together as people, and respect each other and respect each other's choices. Otherwise, we're wasting time.
Yeah, but you see, I have in my challenges and opportunities in life. I remember once we coined this phrase, and I think Ambassador Ward would have observe our work in there. When we started this whole national citizenship drive back in the 90s, from Boston to Florida. And I made statements like, there's a saying that says we usually say we can take the horse to the trough, but we can't force him to drink. And I rubbish that. You know why I rubbish that? As the same mentality I have today. If I'm going to invest, if I'm going to invest in taking you to the trough, it's for you to drink water. Am I right, Ambassador? There's no question here now. So if I have to put your head in the water, you're going to drink it. No, this may sound abrasive and rough, but remember now, we are also people that look to others many times for leadership. And people like ourselves, Ambassador Ward, the Captain Rupert, Friends of the World, and all that, we have to stand up and be leaders and say, listen, this is orange or this is green. This is the color I want you to vote for. This is blue. That's where we are today. Because you see, the space that we live in today is so populated with a lot of chatter. You don't know what is what or who to believe. So yes, respect due, Captain. I tell people there when I talk to them, I say, you vote for Kamala Harris, you're voting for your future. Because let's get it understood here. We come from a culture as immigrants in this country where we exist by something called chain migration.
Sure.
These guys will change, we will change it to the meritocracy. Meaning that if you think we have brain drain going on in Jamaica now, prepare ourselves because they've said it. So the point here is this, is that I don't have no time to say, boy, go out and vote. No, man, go out and vote for Ed Rollins, go out and vote for Tom Brown, go out and vote for XYZ because, and by the way, it's not just Miss Harris here alone, we're talking, Vice President Harris. I'm talking about my congressmen and senators will need to pass certain laws for me, my community. So again, gentlemen, I think that, you know, I know even this year, I'll be quite honest with you. We're probably, you know, singing to the choir right now, because really and truly, time better spent is with me on my telephone calling my friends and say, boss man, or people listening to this thing become empowered to say, hey, you know, let's move on this thing. No, there's an article that Ambassador Ward, I think it was in yesterday's paper, that gave some of the aspects of Project 2025 that we as community should be mindful of. And I'd urge people to go out and find the article and read it. Because you see, sometimes, you know, a man say, them not mean what them say, but go out and read those things, because it is factual. And this is what the folks have been saying, because it's evident that they'll cut their own noses off to get us all out. Because Mr. Musk would also be an immigrant, right? Am I correct?
From apartheid South Africa.
All right. And Mr. former president, his parents and his wife's parents came through the whole process. So they don't look at themselves as being a part of the situation. But what they'll be doing, or what they'll be trying to effectuate. And by the way, one final point on this. The fact that, yes, it would not be as easy as us running up and doing all of that. But here what is going to happen now. You see, when you start deputizing policemen to become immigration officers, argument done. Argument done. That's it.
I'd just like to refer to the article that Erwin just spoke about. It's in the commentary section of yesterday's Gleaner. It is available on the Gleaner online, but I also published the similar article in the Ward Post, which you mentioned up front, the wardpost.com. So it's available in the Ward Post.
Pauline?
Something happened.
Yeah. I did have a question, but believe you me, they have basically answered it. I'm gonna ask it anyway, because you know they made their concerns in it. So I would like to ask the question, you know, just for those who's listening, you know, to really hear your views on that particular question. Trump has threatened to do mass deportation, you know. Are you concerned? And it's going out to all three of you, you know. Are you concerned for those Jamaicans living in the United States? And, you know, what are you hearing? Are they reacting to this? How they're reacting to it?
Just before you, gentlemen, start, I want to speak on a particular group. And why this particular group becomes very, very easy to do, and it's because their records are on file. And those are the dreamers. All right. And you've heard point blank, because number one, they didn't like what Obama did. And they've been trying like hell. In fact, the House of Representatives even passed rules to remove them, but of course went nowhere. They're serious about that. So immediately, that is something that is like red meat to their masses that they'll throw, because it can easily be done. Technical in the scheme of the whole mass migration, but deportation. But again, I say the piece that triggers off in there is that they will deputize police departments. You see, and you see, because that is a trigger mechanism, you know, it just cause it's like me saying to you, I park an ice van in the middle of in Southeast Queens here, and you see what happened to the street. It's empty. You know, when I say ice, I don't mean the ice what you are talking about, immigration and custom enforcement. You park a vehicle like that in any immigrant community, and the whole place becomes silent. No music played, no vehicle move. And those are the intimidating tactics of the youth. So yes,
can I ask a question? Are you telling me that with the wherewithal of the people that we have, the amount of people, the percentage of people of color in the United States, right, who have strong ties, strong backing, right? Really, what they can do is significant throughout the United States. That I'm more concerned about a outright war. Honestly, a war between like two, we all hear about two tribes and what have you. So that's what I'm concerned about, destroying the very fabric of the United States. Yes, we are immigrants, but some people think they're not immigrants, but they are.
Yeah, but,
And I'm saying to you,
Captain, continue along that line you're saying. If I'm concerned about so many black people, let me tell you something what's going on here. The whole consortium of support mechanism that was built with hard sweat and tears over all these years for support for immigration, the migration situation, the migrant situation, put a pall on it, became a wedge issue. To the fact where right here in New York City, when you can have our Democratic mayor can almost be swinging like a MAGA. I'll tell you this, that whole coalition is on titters, it's fractured. So the point here is that, if there was a time when I could say, listen, I can fall back on the support mechanism we have with our African-American brothers and sisters. Don't you start hearing about taking away jobs again more often these days? Hey, that is like a red herring.
No, what is that last comment? What is that comment you made? I kind of missed something.
The red herring about
yes, of course,
jobs. Yes. That's a red herring. No, that's again being filtered into the water here. So I'm just saying to you that right now, the whole immigration situation has become truly a wedge issue within itself. So inter and intra. It's a double whammy.
Go ahead, Captain.
No, I am just flabbergasted. We have 350 million people in the United States. And based on my last calculation, it's like about almost 50-50 in terms of, this is the white population, so to speak, if you want to use color into it right now, would take over completely as if they randomly like that. I don't see that happening. You understand me? No, I maybe what you call it, whatever you want to call me, but at the same time, I can't see the entire fabric of the United States being dissolved just because of, you know what I mean? And maybe I'm thinking differently, but at the same time, if we keep on the rhetoric that these people are so fantastic and strong and they have money, otherwise it wouldn't be a tight race now. Then, if that's the case, it wouldn't be a tight race. It would be a walkover.
Racism is alive and
well. Yes.
And for many years, we've been hearing a pushback against what they call the browning of America. Okay? And they have been pushing back against multiculturalism. They've been pushing back against books. They've been using the rhetoric of Adolf Hitler and Nazism, which promoted the Aryan race. One of Trump's major financier and ally comes from the belly of apartheid South Africa. So don't go to sleep thinking that if you wake up on the morning of November 6th and Trump is president, that you're secure and there'll be no war in the United States. If we are going to be scared by the bellicose rhetoric of Donald Trump and his acolytes, then we will just hand him the election because we said we want peace.
I never said we were scared of Donald Trump.
Yeah, but
I heard the former head of ICE, Erwin just mentioned ICE. ICE drives fear in the immigrant community, not just the undocumented.
All what?
But all immigrants. Every time they raid a factory or a workplace where lots of immigrants work, they bring in everybody. Green card, citizenship, it don't matter. You're an immigrant, they bring you in. No, you have to prove that you have a right to stay here. Yep. The one phone call you get, you have to answer, please bring me green card. Please bring me US passport. I'm here locked up, detained by ICE. And the
Mhm.
former head of ICE under Donald Trump will return as the head of ICE to Donald Trump win the election. I saw him on television recently,
Who's that?
and he was touting what he would do
Mhm.
as head of
And-
ICE.
Okay,
if
wrong
he
thing.
and you know,
starts
and you know,
again.
But remember now that even when the reporter asked him, but what about those born in America? How are you going to deport
yeah,
them
they
with
go
their
to families.
parents? He was like,
Go to families.
like the kids should know. And I'm like,
Yeah. They,
I'm
and
These
they
are
go to
this man
US
families.
serious?
born citizen children.
Yeah,
Yes.
they go
He
to
said
families.
they live with their illegal parents.
Hold on,
Gentlemen,
gentlemen. Whereas I agree with you, that's 70% right now. Let me ask you a question. You're saying to me that one person, that man, can change every
but Captain,
institution
Captain,
overnight in all of whether the Senate,
Captain,
the House.
but you have seen it happening, no, Captain. Listen, you must be familiar with voter suppression, all right?
Yeah.
Where it is a tool used by minority elements to control and maintain power.
Mhm.
They are very good at that. And if credit is to be given, the Republican Party went out, if you remember, back in the 80s, coming to the 90s, early 2000s, and made sure that they controlled state houses. All right.
Yes, redlining.
Hey, we start seeing a leveling off now. But what I'm saying here is that they have gone out and where they can, a significant in your state is renowned for voter suppression. You know, talk about let's talk about the 1.2 million persons who were on the roll that could not vote because they had a criminal charge. And you had a referendum down there that said, hey, they should be allowed to vote. What did your governor do along with the state house? Was to rescind it. Because what?
Well,
70% of those persons.
I must admit, I wasn't around at that time.
All
And
right, well, I'm just telling you what happened here, sir.
Mhm.
70% of these people are immigrant of color, and probably and 50 of those persons will probably go Democrat. It could swing the elections down there. What I'm saying here is this: is that the fact that they are so ably positioned with the levers of power, that's what made it. It's not popularity here. The electoral college is an indication of that, gentlemen. You can have the popular vote and Hillary Clinton show you that, and you still lose the election.
You know, let me go back historically and just say something, Erwin. And although, as I said before, I knew that things would get bad in America with this thing to where we are right now. But Hitler, let's go to Hitler. Hitler is not there anymore. Right? He's not there, there anymore. And the fact of the matter, the world stood up to Hitler when, when the time came, and he was no longer. Okay, so I'm just saying to you, hold on. I want you to understand that I'm saying to you, the time to man up is now. We have to support each other, and we have to, speak. But the thing about this is that we have to make people get together as one.
Yes,
and I am saying that my own experience in this past year or two is that, it is very difficult to even rely on some people. Okay, if I give you my word and I say I'm with you, I'm with you. That's why my word is like this, If I tell you I'm going to be with you, but you have the finky ones, as you say, that you cannot trust them.
Agreed.
Okay, so I am just saying to you, I hear the enthusiasm is palpable. Everything that you said, I have noted. I have not only that I've seen it, and I've been weighing as I told you, I've been telling people that this place is set for chaos, even before Project 20, whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Right? My view is we have to decide on ourselves that we will not take this BS no more. There was a movie, one quick one. There was a movie one time, and this guy, I can't remember, he says he threw the televisions out of the window and said, we cannot take it anymore. We need to have that type of backbone.
We're not throwing my TV out the window, though. Listen.
All right, no. Okay, yes. But I'm just saying, all of us know the movie, right? I was so impressed by that. And I'm saying to you, we not only have a problem, one second, Ambassador, please. We have a problem here in the United States. We have it even in our own country.
Yeah, man.
And we can't do nothing about it right now. Because we don't come together. Anyway, go ahead, my friend. Sorry.
If I might. Captain, you asked a question earlier. If all of these things that we fear can happen just by one man, that one man, if he's president, can sign a series of executive orders to create havoc in this country. You ever heard of the Posse Comitatus Act?
Heard of it, but I don't know the details.
Right. Well, this is an act which was passed something like in 1878 or something like that,
Mhm.
which the president can use
Mhm.
to put the military,
Mhm.
to deputize the military
On the streets.
and put them to round up immigrants.
Yep. Yep. And
And he has said that he would do it. Why
And-
don't we believe him?
And also the House of Representatives are standing by if they do maintain it to do the same. But Ambassador, and I just want to just tweak it somewhat. Gentlemen, if you allow me to ask the Ambassador a question, because I think one of the conversations that can also help to resonate well with our committee. Let's go for the long shot here now. Let's go throw the ball further now. Share with us what are some of the potential implications that we could have on our country, Jamaica and the Caribbean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Give us an idea, look in your crystal ball. Probably no, sorry. Just tell us, because you have the facts there. Tell us.
Well, I don't have to go into the crystal ball. I can just look into Project 2025. Should Donald Trump be president, one of the provisions of 2025 is to weaponize the USAID, to restructure the State Department, to eschew diplomacy and compromise, and be an enforcement mechanism. Project 2025 saying that the door must be closed to China. That includes getting China out of Latin America and the Caribbean. So just think about the implications of that for a minute. The dependency for infrastructure development and long-term low-interest loans with China has brought Jamaica into a very precarious situation from which they cannot immediately extricate themselves. I was listening to a program, well, it wasn't a program, somebody shared the recording of a program where some economist was breaking down Nigel Clarke's legacy as he flees Jamaica for a cushioned job at the IMF. And the data, the raw data, does not support the rhetoric of the government about the economy.
Of course not.
When Nigel Clarke took office, this is one of the things that really struck me. The Jamaican dollar was 120 to 1.
Mhm.
And as he leaves office today, it is 155, 156 to 1.
More than that, so 160 almost.
Okay. Poverty in Jamaica has doubled since he took office. And on and on and on. I was amazed at the data that was being put forward. Okay. Now, I mentioned the word post earlier, and it is okay for all of you to congratulate me because tomorrow is the 8th anniversary of the ward post.
Congratulations.
Listen, Ambassador Ward, we congratulate. I don't know where you find the time. And I know you don't use AI to write all that stuff. So you have to send me But here's what I want to say. Jamaica is in a scene. No, hold on. We don't want to mix it. We don't want to mix.
Wait a minute. I was asked once by a venerable former leader of Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
He said, how many people you have on staff? I said, why you ask that? He said, how are you able to produce all this accurate information?
Yeah.
Sometimes in very short order.
Yeah.
I said, well, it's a staff of one. But I know where to find accurate information. You see, when you have certain kinds of experiences, you don't go searching all over the internet or using Google or anything. I know which website to go.
Mm-hmm.
And within 5 minutes, I can track down a document.
Yeah.
Not using Google, but knowing where the document originated from. And many times, I subscribe to many different agencies of government and international organizations. So I get a flood of email. I don't read them. I go through and see which one I should save and delete the others. Because I can't read them all when I'm seeing them. But I know I'm not to delete that one because I may need it later.
I have to congratulate you because I tell you something. I have the same, but I don't write it all. I talk it all, as you can see. But let me say this to you. The international agency, yes, you said the US would have an edge, not have. They would have us, because of their interest and China. But hold on, we signed a Samoa agreement the other day, That is really questionable. Right? It's some more agreement. That means that there are international agencies that are already having effect on the Jamaica and the West Indian and all smaller countries. So this is typical of big countries. That's why they may be afraid of BRICS that is coming up and all that sort of thing. I do believe, though, Ambassador Ward, that when people like you talk, Irwin, this is the most energetic I've seen Irwin since he left school. And I mean, and I love it. I've never seen him so, up and so. By the way, we went to your class. You might not want to admit it, but it's all right. And let me say this to you.
Some of my friends go to your castle.
You mean your castle?
Associate with them, all right?
Your
So you never see me more energetic.
But the point I'm making is this, right? The point I'm making is that these agreements have little things in them that really we have to look on, because if we don't, so we have to be careful. I'm one of those people who are very, very open-minded in terms of certain things and so on, and pig-headed at times, as you know, Ambassador, right? And everybody know. But the fact of the matter is, I am saying to you, I know, I heard everything that you've said is gospel. But what we have to do is to be prepared. I'm a scout, and I am prepared. Okay? When the thing happened the other day, for example, not going back to it, I got prepared. I said, okay, brother, I'm here. You know where I am. Come on, if you must. Try it now. The point I'm trying to say to you is that if we all, with this energy and this knowledge that we have, pass it on to people, our children and what have you, I said, no, enough is enough. Enough is enough. We're not going to take it no more. You understand? So if we go there, what are you going to do? Kill 100 million people? Are you crazy? It can't happen. The fact of the matter is, my friend, that if we go out there and we know what is right, and I wish every success to what the things that you're talking about, but I'm just saying we know we are right, stand up with each other, then we're good. That's all I'm asking. Don't have to run away from anybody.
For understanding that Jamaica sends home, what is it, 2.5,
no, man, $4.5 billion.
All right. I'm talking about from the United States.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And the free flow of money out of the country is not something that a Trump administration appreciates. Right? Because you see, our saying says if you can't catch Quacker, you catch him short. So understand now, you gotta figure, you gotta go look at the get a better perception of their mindset. They will look at the things that affect that immigrants are involved in. And can you turn a switch and turn it off? And one sure way is cutting that money stream off. It don't take much for Western Union to stop functioning in this whole situation. And I'm quite sure when you start look at the financial aspects in a project 2025, you'll find those situations too, the movement of capital out of this country.
Erwin, to back you up on that, during the Trump administration,
Yes.
2 Republican congressmen
Yes, I remember.
introduced a bill in
Yes.
Congress to tax remittances. Tax remittances.
And all those things come back to fore. Will come back to fore. So when we look at it, so for the man, the average person in Jamaica now who has a relative here independent, that's a direct impact right there to the whole situation as we spoke about chain migration, which is the umbilical cord for so many to enter this United States and the connection. Those are situations that goes right into the plate or into the household of Jamaicans. So if we want to talk about, the flour and the rice and peas, yes, these are issues that will have an impact there. But coming back now, we have 5 days to go. So the question now lends itself that we can sit here and deliberate as much as we want. This platform, the Irie Myrie show, I think that with the limited outreach to the community via these avenues, we have to encourage people like yourself to turn up the thing, turn up the heat. Turn up the heat. Because you see, platforms like these are important in disseminating information, and we don't have enough of them. So when I heard you say, Captain, that we have to work together and all that, you and I know that it comes back down to the harvest is plentiful and laborers are few. But from our pulpits, which is where most of our people get their direction from, our pastors in the Caribbean have to be stepping up more. Platforms like these. So that's my general charge. And in our own individual scheme of things. Like, for example, every 5 minutes, I clear messages from my phone from @blue or blue act, because I wouldn't say I got careless, but I step up the plate and I start contributing. And from once you start contributing, you get all these things. And we also have to have skin in the game. We have to have skin in the game. So I'm happy. This time around, I must say, and I give credit to many of the groups out of Florida. I see folks like Michael Blake and others. I'm just calling names that comes to my mind right away. And you know who I'm talking, Ambassador. These are people who are having, fundraisers and doing bus trips and canvassing and all that. This is the first in a long time, since probably 2007. So I think there's general energy there, but it's guarded optimism because, again, these guys have certain levers in the game that they're hell-bent they'll be utilizing, and we have to be ready as well.
But let me ask you though, Erwin, because as I said, you're basically on the ground. What are you hearing from mostly Jamaicans? How are they feeling? Are they hopeful or are they worried?
Well, it's a little of both. They're hopeful. We all have to be hopeful. But there's always a worry in there. Typical, we always worry. I'm a worrier. But the point here is this, though, is that, there is genuine enthusiasm. And, the flip side of fear is they encourage you to do things to make sure what you're hoping might happen may not happen. So we have to stroke the fires there. And we have to continue to articulate the message. We can't speak in vague terms. Go out and exercise your franchise. MD is done. I'm taking you to the, if I'm part and parcel taking you to the water, you are going to drink, because your participation is contingent on my existence. And that's, I know it's a selfish notion, but it is real, and so yes, there is. And because we go back, and I speak from a New York perspective now, we do not have here in New York, in one of the largest probably concentration of Caribbean nationals. We don't have the power of terrestrial radio because, that's a dying situation. And credit to you guys in this environment, yes, But you know, there's still many of us who jump in our cars and so on, turn on the radio and bang, 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 we hear things going on in Jamaica or whatever, people talking like us. We don't have that anymore. So that's a missing ingredient. And then everybody who walks around with a cell phone today is a media mogul. So you have to be very careful what they say and what information they push out. You know, because that is not monitored, that's not regulated. So, you know, we have those situations to deal with. And then you still have some of us who are still going party 5 days a week as if nothing is going on. You wonder, no, what's going on upstairs? You know, so there's a lot of all these moving parts. You know, and yes, we will sell out the reggae concerts and with all that. And I had to tell some people recently, I see them putting on all the shirts to promote a particular artist. I said, I hope you're putting on shirts like that to promote your safety in this country and your children's safety, because that kind of enthusiasm, show it at the polls. Then yes, we can do it.
Well,
Yes, we can.
I agree. Can I say something, Ralston?
Yes, Captain.
I just want to say that what you said right now is palpable because everybody needs to get involved in the whole process. Because right now we are relaunching our aspect we did for a few months there, which it was very, very impactful, and we're doing it very, very shortly, hopefully before this whole November 5th exercise. But the point I'm trying to make is that what he says is very important. Tell somebody, talk to somebody, encourage. I hope to last night I had conversations with friends of mine about the very same thing. So emotions was really rambunctious, but not like this, because people have different views. But my view is that we are very, very well placed in America, Jamaicans, West Indians as a whole, and we must show it. We must show it. We must encourage people to work with us because it's not about us anymore. It's about the future of all countries, not only the United States, but our small countries down there. Okay? And people think that they can get away in our country and this country and other countries with literally murder, right? If you understand my drift. And they think they can do anything and get away with it. And that has to stop because politicians are servants of the people, and the people are not. They're not, not the other way around. So that is what my problem is with what politicians. I don't really have very much faith anymore in politicians, to be quite honest with you. And
well, you better vote for one that will not stop the other guy from winning. All right, so you don't come tell me what you don't feel. Have faith in Kamala Harris, that she'll win. That's a direct. That's a direct instruction.
Yes, Here, Erwin is now giving the senior your cast light instructions. Thank you very much.
All right,
Erwin.
Ambassador Ward, let me put this final question to you before we close, because I know Erwin is pressed for time. I hear Captain talk about we have the numbers, we are big numbers, and I hear Erwin talk about that there's this wedge that they're trying to build between us. How do we then mend those two in having the numbers and ensuring that we don't have that wedge being built between us, so that we can come out as a unified force?
Can I answer that quickly? For Ambassador, if they follow what Ambassador Ward does, Erwin does, for example, just two persons. I'm not knocking, just they always. If I have a problem, I call Erwin, whether I know about it or not. I say Erwin XYZ. And he will stop what he's doing and he'll answer me, and he will tell me the first time I've ever seen, as I said him, that is energetic. He never said to that when the last time. But anyway, that's all right. The point I make, Ambassador, is the same thing, right? If I have a problem and so on and so forth, I read this thing and so he knows I'm busy trying to pull this and do this and do that. But we need more people like those persons out there who have given and not afraid of saying it. Okay, and when you call upon them, they will give you their advice without literally charging. You know what I mean? So I'm being honest. How many people are there like that? So I'm just saying, I'm not trying to brown nose anybody. I'm simply saying what is true because I'm out there and I want to be out there. Some people say, why do you do what you do? Well, ask those two gentlemen the same thing. Why do it? Because we love, not only say we love, we absolutely love where we are and where we're coming from. That's what I'd like to answer that for the start.
To answer your question, Mr. Chamberlain, it's a very complex question. because there are so many competing issues involved in the relationships. You know, when Barack Obama was running for president back in 2007, 2008, there is a cadre of African Americans who said he was not a descendant of American slaves, and therefore he was not black enough. Some of these same African Americans, they may not be many, but they are vocal. We're saying the same thing about Kamala Harris. She's not a descendant of American slaves, so she doesn't qualify as black. Now, when they do that, it feeds into the narrative of white racist extremists, and it feeds into the narrative of Donald Trump. Now, there are recognition of the fact that civil rights in this country has been facilitated to a large extent by the input of Caribbean people. The Belafonte, the Sidney Poitier were financiers of the civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King. Malcolm X, his mother was from the Caribbean. And when you look at the broader philosophy of the civil rights movement, they were all inspired by Marcus Garvey. Malcolm X said as a boy, he attended Garvey meetings with his father, who was a Garveyite. Throughout the history of the United States, Caribbean people have played a very important role, not only in the development of this country, but in the development of the political and civil and social upliftment of people of color in this country. But there are a dedicated bunch of mostly white extremists who use every possible means of propaganda to divide us. And there are not enough of us who are willing to speak out and speak against that propaganda. So as I said, it's complex, because there's more that unites us than divides us. But that which divides us is amplified over and over and over again. And that's why we cannot afford to be silent. And that's why we cannot afford not to build coalition within our own community of Caribbean immigrants, but with the African American, with the Latino, with the Asia Pacific, any community that we can build coalition with, we must do that, because at the end of the day, we are all people of color. And that's where the major emphasis of white racist extremism focuses, to prevent us from progressing. Look, Project 2025 said the border must be sealed, and only people of high levels of education should be admitted into the United States. I'd like to stop at that.
All right, and that's a great point on which to to end.
Go out and vote.
Ralston, just before you wrap
your
up,
interest, which is represented in a presidency of Kamala Harris.
Ralston, just before we wrap up, I just want to take this opportunity because many times we have these kind of fora and individuals like this come on. We have with us here tonight and one of Jamaica's gems. Huh?
Hmm.
And we're talking about Ambassador Curtis Ward, who has served us well. And his wealth of information and knowledge and attentiveness to the factors that impacts us as a people is of critical importance. And though some in Jamaica may fear him and cast aspersions, the fact of the matter is that he is a true Jamaican representing us here in the diaspora and stand up for causes that the average person who are concerned about not getting an invitation to a tea party or whatever. And when I say tea party, I don't mean the Republican tea party, I mean the Jamaican tea parties. He doesn't have to worry about that. And so we have rich legacy and with him here. I just want to take this opportunity just to say thank him for his services to our existence in this world. And I just hope that many others who are listening and sees articles can appreciate him and show him the love.
All right, since I gave Erwin
Thank you, Erwin. I'm humbled by that.
Since I gave Erwin a 30-second, I'm going to give you a 30-second closing too as well, Captain Francis.
Yeah, I want to endorse everything that Erwin has said, everything that Erwin has done, in fact, for Jamaica, and in fact, Ambassador Ward in particular, because I've learned a lot from him, from what to do and what not to do. And he's straightforward. He tells you exactly what he feels, and people are afraid of that, yes. And in some sense, I try to do that myself, sometimes to my chagrin, of course. But the fact of the matter is, we have to stand up and we have to be counted, and we matter. All of us matter. Everybody matters. And we must be, ethical constructs and so on and so forth, which must be displayed by our leadership wherever we are, right? And so when I see enthusiasm like this, it is palpable. And I wish you all the very best, everybody who's out there and so on and so forth. Yes, it is going to be, we hope, significant changes in the United States that will be of benefit to our people, but to all people concerned, because I came here because I could not at the time survive in my own country. And for those of you who don't believe it is true, go check the records. The fact of the matter is that many of us came here, we could be an example, not only to the United States, but to the nation and nations, because that's what we work hard and done very well as Jamaicans. Look at the record. And, so ladies and gentlemen, please take everything that has been said in here and, do what you have to do. Go to the polls, vote as you should vote, and then we will see what happens. Okay? One love, one heart, one destiny. That's Garvey himself. Thank you very much.
All right, gentlemen, this is where we have to end the show. You have been listening and watching the Irie Myrie and Friends show. So on behalf of my co-host, Irie Myrie, I want to say thanks to our guests, Erwin Clare, Captain Rupert Francis, and Ambassador Curtis Ward. And we really appreciate the discussion that we had here this evening rather. And we want to say to our listeners, we know you have a choice in what you listen to, and we thank you for joining us here on the show, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great evening.
And thank you, Ralston. Thank you, Brother Colin. Thank you, everybody. Tony in the background. Thank you very much. All right, one love.
Thank you all.
Irie.
Thank you very much. I found this discussion to be quite rich and important. And
it is.
Let us use social media to spread this far and wide.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, take care.